Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show I read a lot of comics, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. But first, I want to invite you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And I want to talk real quick about this Elvira Mistress of the Dark Classic Years Omnibus that's being crowdfunded right now on Indiegogo from our friends at Dynamite. Now, you know, I'm a huge Elvira fan, and I'm loving the new comics that Dynamite is producing. However, there were comics from back in the days, from the 90s, that I've never been able to get into. Well, Dynamite's already crowdfunded a Volume 1 Classic Years Omnibus, and now they're doing a Volume 2. So you can check it out right now at the link in the description below, and you can also get some really cool variant covers, some photo covers, some metal covers, some CGC type stuff, or just get the omnibus if you want it. And if you missed out on Volume 1, that's available as well. So check it out, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark Classic Years Collection, Volume 2. And we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, 20th Century Men from Image Comics. This is written by Dennis Camp with artwork by S. Morian and lettering by Aditya Bidikar. This book is phenomenal. It is mind-blowing to me. I absolutely love it. What it is I'll just read you the solicitation. At the end of the 20th century, superheroes, geniuses, and madmen rush towards World War III. A Soviet iron hero, a super-powered American president, an insane cyborg soldier, an Afghan woman hell-bent on building a better life for her people. These strange yet familiar beings collide in a story that mixes history, politics, and comic book mythology into something totally new. Welcome to 20th Century Men, where the edges of our reality and fiction touch, overlap, and then explode. This book is fantastic. You can think of it kind of like this. What if Iron Man was Russian during the time of the Soviet Union, and he was like the main Soviet superhero? Meanwhile, Captain America's been president of the United States, right? He's been around since 1941, and now these two giant global forces are about to collide and clash at the same time, all over Afghanistan. This is kind of set in the 80s, so it's doing like an alternate history type thing. It's got bits of it, story-wise, thematically, geopolitically, that make me think of Rick Veitch's The One. I absolutely love this book. It's got some great, super cool ideas. It's all wrapped around a really interesting story, very compelling characters, incredibly engaging of a premise. What? An incredibly engaging premise. Anyway, I loved it. The artwork by Morian is so freaking awesome. It switches styles whenever the scene kind of shifts in tone, right? It's not just providing atmosphere, which it is, but it's doing something different. The line work will change, the coloring will change, the complete style of this artwork will change from scene to scene, but it never feels jarring. It never feels disconnected. It works so powerfully well. Speaking of power, the artwork, when it needs to, has a bombastic sense of power that leaps off of the page. And then you got Aditya Bidikar, the best letterer in the business, doing what he does best, cranking out some fantastic letters. This is the whole package, and I can tell you that everybody involved in this book is putting their all into it, and you can tell, and I highly appreciate that. This is far and above the pick of the week. 20th Century Men, number 1. From Image Comics. But the hits don't stop there. Image also has Above Snakes issue number 2, written by Sean Lewis with artwork by Hayden Sherman. This one's got lettering by Hassan Otsman El Howe, another top tier letterer in this industry, and you can see why in the pages of Above Snakes. Above Snakes is a Western revenge story, right? But it's kind of got this sense of quirkiness and this fantastical nature about it. The artwork by Hayden Sherman is absolutely magnificent. I believe that Hayden is coloring this book themselves Yes, 100%. The color choices are bold. They stand out. They make the book seem different and unique from any other revenge western. Yeah, you hear another revenge western out there and you just kind of roll your eyes, but this is unlike any of the others. And the story's got this quality of whimsy and humor about it. This is basically our hero. Our hero, by the way, is trying to murder everybody who's a part of this gang because they killed his wife. He is trying to maybe have a date. So this is a date night for two lonely revenge seekers out there in the West in this crazy world. I loved this book. I thought it really carried the momentum on from issue number 1 and continues to deliver at a breakneck pace. Then we got Do a Powerbomb, issue number 3. Speaking of a breakneck pace, this book gets into it, and it gets into it major. This is about a young woman who wants to be a wrestling superstar like her mother, but her mother was killed in the ring. So her family, her father, people around her, they've been trying to dissuade her from doing this, but now she has a chance to participate in this tournament, but it's like an extra dimensional tournament. She's got to get a tag team partner. There's a big twist with his identity, but the tag team partner is the one who is responsible for the death of her mother in the ring. This book's got the humanity to it, right? It's got the emotion, but it's got dynamic, explosive, kinetically charged artwork from Daniel Warren Johnson that just doesn't just leap or explode off the page. It kicks you right in the face. This book is awesome. Do a Powerbomb. This book is like doing a powerbomb to me when I'm reading it, and I'm loving it. I think this book is absolutely fantastic. The artwork is cool, and since it's an extra dimensional wrestling tournament, they're fighting against Team Orangabang, which are like these two orangutans. Man, this book's awesome. So much fun. So much fun. Then we got the Silver Coin, issue number 13. This was an okay issue of Silver Coin. The artwork, as always, by Michael Walsh is super solid, but in this anthology series, which all revolves around this silver coin, which always kind of shows up in someone's life, then a series of unfortunate events happen, but there is no Lemony Snicket involved, at least not yet. But it's a different writer in each issue that leads to an inconsistency in the stories. Not just their connection to the silver coin, though that is an inconsistency. Some stories are very much attached to that coin. Other stories veer very far away from it. This one kind of is right there in the middle. It's interesting, it's cool, it's got some great artwork, some gnarly stuff, but the story just didn't quite connect to me. I just didn't quite get the connection with the coin, maybe a little bit, but I don't know, it just didn't quite connect enough for me, but it did still have some cool, creepy ideas and some unnerving visuals, so that was still pretty cool. Then we got Firepower, issue number 23. Firepower is amazing. Chris Samney is just killing it, killing it. He is probably one of the best choreographers of action in the comic book page today. Most of this book is wordless action, but it flows so well. Think of things like that G.I. Joe 21, that wordless comic, very famous because it works so well. The other thing that's done in here, and it's not completely wordless, but the other thing that's done is a lot of fighting done in silhouette, but it doesn't feel like Samney's taking shortcuts here. It feels like all those figures are fully realized, and the silhouettes are adding to something in this book because it's mostly our hero fighting a giant dragon, like a giant dragon. Meanwhile, there's this crazy martial arts fight below. This is, if you're a fan of martial arts and you're not reading Firepower, I don't know what else to say. You have to. That book is awesome. Bloodstained Teeth is here with issue number 5. Story's still cool. It's still interesting. It's the art that's really keeping me in here. Mostly the sense of design, the sense of style, the sense of color. The color choices are very bold and not something that you typically see in a vampire story, especially where if this was black and white, this would appear quite almost noirish, and at times I would feel the line work is a bit static. However, the colors provide the energy. The colors provide the vibrancy and the movement on the page, which is something really interesting to me. So this is a book with a cool enough premise. It's about a vampire who has been commanded to go and kill every person that he's turned into a vampire to wipe him out, because that's against the rules. And now he's going after a big movie star, but it's the colors that move. I mean, the art's solid, like the line work is solid. the story is solid, but the colors are holy cow. Then we got The Last Shadowhawk. This is a one-shot comic celebrating 30 years of Image, so we got to have all the hits roll back out, including Shadowhawk. This one is done by Philip Tan. Story and pencils, Danielle Henriquez on the inking. It's interesting. It's all right. I think if you're a hardcore Shadowhawk fan, you definitely want to check it out. If you like, hey, maybe this is the book for me to get into Shadowhawk, that ain't gonna be what it is. This is The Last Shadowhawk story. That's what this is. It's a one-shot. It's very abrupt and quick and brisk, and maybe not the send-off that the hero deserves, but it had this brutal finality to it that was kind of interesting. So, I don't know. There's a really nifty, gnarly Bill Sienkiewicz variant, too. That's it right there. That's super, super cool. We were shorted those copies. Anyway, moving on to DC, we got Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler, #1. This is written by Tom King with artwork by Mitch Gerads. So this is the start of a series of books that are basically trying to provide each major member of Batman's rogue gallery with their own killing joke. Because you get the idea in Killing Joke is that the Joker is proving through this crazy mission where he paralyzes Barbara Gordon, where he mentally tortures with intense trauma Commissioner Gordon, and you got Batman wrapped in it, but he's trying to prove that all it takes is one bad day, right? So just like the Killing Joke, thematically, that's what these books are, I guess, trying to do. So it shows a little bit of the origin, and it shows a new crime that boldly sets the villain on a higher level than where they were before. So think of it like Killing Joke, but for Riddler, and then there's more to come. They're doing Catwoman, Bane, Penguin. Each one is going to be done by a different creative team. Some of those creative teams are very exciting. Tom King and Mitch Gerads work very well together. Unfortunately for me, this one just didn't work. Not for me. They try to elevate Riddler, and I think they try to elevate him too far. That's not quite authentic to the character. I know there's been this push for a darker take on Riddler, especially with the last Batman movie, but it's not something that quite works for me. So there's some interesting concepts here. The little bit of background we get on Edward's childhood and his relationship with his father, that stuff is cool. And some of the stuff that the Riddler's, there's just something that's done in here. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. And the artwork by Mitch Gerads, I usually love Mitch Gerads. The color choices in this one kind of felt rather dull, and all the pages kind of meshed together. I don't know. It just kind of didn't really work for me. The colors didn't really separate those layers or make anything pop. So I was kind of disappointed in that. Then we got Black Adam, issue #3. The first 2 issues of this haven't quite sold me. So it's the story of Black Adam. He's dying, right? So he decides he needs to name an heir. So he finds this dude to give his powers. He's going to become White Adam, right? So that character's been introduced. But he's also a medical student, and he's actually trying to save Black Adam's life. Christopher Priest's experimentation with structure sometimes will leave someone not feeling connected to the story for the first couple issues. I remember when I was a teenager reading his Black Panther as it was coming out and not really quite getting it, but then after like 5 or 6 issues, I started really getting it and really getting into it. I'm starting to get into Black Adam with issue #3, so I will trust Priest and his structure, and I will enjoy this ride and see what happens. However, some really interesting stuff happens in Black Adam #3. I liked it. I thought it was good. Then we got Batman Superman World's Finest, issue #6. This is a self-contained one-shot story that's kind of cleaning up the mess from the last story's wrap-up, in which Supergirl has somehow lost Robin in time. So this is a nice story of Robin stranded in time and them trying to find him. It feels very Silver Age, maybe too Silver Age to its detriment, where it did come across as rather hokey and kooky and stupid, but that's kind of what it's going for, so it has this sense of fun that some DC comics just don't have right now. A lot of superhero comics don't have right now because it's not cool to be kooky and hokey, right? Here I am saying it's maybe too Silver Age to its detriment. Maybe it's not. Maybe we need more books like this. I don't know. I like it. Dan Moore is not on the artwork, but it is Travis Moore. Solid work from Travis Moore, but not the most solid. Then we got Nightwing, issue #95. We're finally moving this story forward. It started happening in the last issue. We're starting to have these events unfold in a way where we're knocking things, dominoes down. The dominoes are falling faster and faster and faster. So all the stuff with Blockbuster, all the stuff with the mayor, all the stuff with Grayson and Barbara, it's all coming to a head here, right? Bruno Redondo and the artwork is amazing. There are a few pages that are guest inked by someone else, and you can tell. So it definitely lets me appreciate Redondo's finishes on his work. But I liked it. I think Nightwing's been solid. It kind of took a little bit of a dip because it had to fit into Fear State, then it had a crossover with Superman, Son of Kal-El, but now it's kind of back to telling its story, and it's doing it in a really interesting way, and a really cool ending here. I'll definitely have you coming back for more. Then we got The Flash 785, a Dark Crisis tie-in. Wally West has taken the Flash family out into the multiverse to try to find Barry Allen, to tell him that the Justice League have died. We know the Justice League aren't dead. Pariah's got them on separate worlds, including Barry Allen. Well, this kind of wraps up that whole Let's Find Barry, and it does set up directly into the next issue of Dark Crisis. I have read the next issue of Dark Crisis, and it immediately picks up on some of the events that happen here. So is it super, super essential? No, but it is more tied in and plugged to the story than any of these other Dark Crisis tie-ins. So I've been enjoying it, and Jeremy Adams has been doing a really solid job on this book, very consistently strong. Then we got Aquaman the Flash Void Song, which rhymes with consistently strong, but this one was not consistently strong. In fact, it started strong, got weaker, kind of tried to pull it together here for the ending. It's a satisfying conclusion, but overall, too much space, I think, was given to this story. I really liked the dynamic between Aquaman and Flash in issue 1. They fell apart in issue number 2. That was purposeful, but I felt that was kind of a forced clash, a forced conflict, and I feel like the resolution was shaky because of it, so it kind of lost the magic that it had when it first started, but this book overall kind of fell a little bit flat. Then we've got Duo here with issue number 4. I'm still enjoying this book. Duo is set in the Milestone universe, I guess. But it's about this, like these two lovers, they're scientists, they're working on nanotechnology, an explosion happens, it's some secret corporation or group is responsible for it. The woman dies, but her consciousness is imprinted onto the nanotechnology, which then goes into the dude, and now both of them exist in his body, and they got superpowers, and they're getting to the bottom of everything and trying to figure this out, how it's interesting, because it's taking two people that were like romantically close and spiritually close and really making them like they're super close, like they're in the same mind, and it's playing and doing some interesting things with that. So I like the book. I think it's pretty fun. Let's jump over to Marvel. And from Marvel, we have Axe, Death to the Mutants. So it's a tie-in to Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day. I haven't really been digging that book. I know some people have. I'm happy that people are enjoying the book. I personally, I'm just not plugged in. You know, I'm not reading Avengers, I'm not reading X-Men, I'm not reading Eternals, because those books kind of eventually started boring me personally. That's just me. To each their own. So, take what I say then, understanding that I'm not enjoying this stuff. This was boring. It was dull. I didn't like it. It felt like a half-assed issue of Eternals. If Eternals didn't get dropped after 12 issues and had like someone come in to do some quick fill-in, tie-in issues to this event, that's what this feels like. And I didn't like it. Then we got Avengers 1 billion BC. This is a one-shot promising to reveal the truth behind the mystery of Thor's birthright. Is he the is he the son of Gaia? Is he the son of the Phoenix? How is that all possible? That's what this is. It's just a one-shot, but it ties into what Jason Aaron's been building up for years now, it seems. Over in the pages of Avengers, that book started boring me. I dropped out of it, but I did want to kind of know what was going on with this mystery, and it's all right. I guess it's decent. It's cool. I guess you could say this is the birth of Thor, so I don't know. It's all right. But like I said, I haven't been into the Avengers, and I feel like this Avengers 1 billion BC thing was a really cool, nifty idea at first, and then it's just kind of petered out and lost a lot of steam, so I don't know. It was all right. So if you really care about what happened, it's in those pages. Then we got Daredevil number 2, or 650. I hate it when Marvel does this. They relaunch the Daredevil title for no reason. Still has the same writer, still has the same artist, Chip Zdarsky, Marco Cicchetto. They relaunched it with a new #1 so they could put out a $6 issue, and the very next issue's legacy number is $6.50, and now we got another $6 issue. That's what they do. That's what they do, and we allow them to do that. Anyway, Daredevil #2 was alright. It's actually better than the first issue. The first issue to me didn't really quite feel like a first issue, but this felt like more like getting into an interesting story. There's this dude who's got some kind of a power where he hears a voice and he says something or thinks something, and things go a certain way, and he's claiming that he's been there all along in Matt's life as his guardian angel, setting things up to fall in certain ways for him, setting up certain events, this and that. I don't know. It does some interesting exploration on fate and faith and how they are interconnected and how they are not connected at all. So it did some interesting stuff. Marco Cicchetto's artwork is cool. There's some nice texture there on some of those pages. There is a fill-in artist on the scenes where they go back into the past, so it doesn't quite feel super disjointed because it's there structurally in the story to make sense of the art change. So overall, I liked it. There's some backup stories. They're all right. And then they do that nifty thing where they show you all the covers. And I like doing that. I like just looking at them and remembering the good old days. You know, things like that. Then we got Edge of Spider-Verse issue #2. I believe this has a first appearance of the new Spidey UK. I believe this is a brand new character. I don't know. Probably is. New to me, definitely, for sure. This was an alright issue. This new Spidey UK, she's interesting enough. Didn't really super appeal to me. I liked there's a Spider-Gwen story in here that probably I actually liked the best. So, it was alright. This Edge of the Spider-Verse thing is just a bunch of little short stories to set up this upcoming Spider-Verse event that Dan Slott's doing. But the last story here does kind of set up something more interesting. Some of these setup on Spider-Verse pretty interesting because it's not so much about Moreland, but it's about that Wasp lady, and I remember her from the JMS run. I don't know if anybody's ever really gone back to that, but so there's some interesting stuff that's being developed here. So that's cool. Spideyverse fans definitely want to check that out. Then we got Hulk #8. Hulk's finally back. Where's Swamp Thing? Green Hell, I don't know. But we finally got Hulk back. Hulk #8. This is the conclusion of the Banner of War story, the Thor Hulk crossover from the writer of Crossover, Donny Cates. And it was a satisfying enough conclusion. Big, giant, epic stuff. It's trying to answer the question, who would win, Thor or Hulk? Does it answer that? I don't really think it does, but you be the judge of that. But to make things even more even, Hulk has the power of Thor, and Thor has the power of Hulk. So you got a Thor Hulk and a Hulk Thor fighting each other. It's interesting. And it sets up some stuff to come for both Thor and for Hulk. So that's interesting. Of course, Donny Cates has got to be setting some stuff up. But this was just slamming some action figures together and having some fun with it. So overall, I kind of liked that little story crossover. The crossover between Hulk and Thor, not the crossover book that's crossover. Anyway, Iron Cat is here with issue #3. Jed MacKay's been having a really solid run on Black Widow across several months now, across several series. Now into this 5-issue series, Iron Cat. A former flame of Felicia Hardy blames her for the death of their mentor, and so she has stolen the Iron Cat suit and modified it to her own ends, and now she's coming after them, and I'm liking this book. It's fun. It's firmly rooted in the Marvel Universe. Felicia Hardy is a really fun character. Jed MacKay's characterization of her is really fun and vibrant, and I really like this book. I think it's solid. I think it's got good, solid artwork. Then we got Savage Avengers issue #4. You can tell on the cover here we had a big shocking revelation at the end of the last issue. We found out that this Deathlock that was sent back in time to find Conan and exterminate him for crimes against the time stream, this is in fact a future version of Miles Morales. So it's Miles Deathlock Morales. So that's cool. We explore that origin, how that gets set up in the future, how that happens, and then some major stuff happens back in the past where the Savage Avengers are stuck there in Conan. And of course, there's a big villain. He's got villainous things. There's a lot of chaotic movement going on in the story, and I think David Pepose kind of handles all the mania very well and very structured, and it's nice. It's got a nice kind of pace. Everybody's got a moment of personality. Everybody's got a moment to shine. Everybody's got a reason and a purpose to be there. So overall, I'm enjoying Savage Avengers. Issue #4 out this week. From IDW, we have True Cult issue #1. This is written by Scott Bryan Wilson with artwork by Liana Kangas. I'm a huge fan of Liana Kangas' work. I think she's an awesome person. I've met her several times. I think she's awesome. So I'm a big fan of her work, and this book actually was kickstarted, I want to say like 2 years ago or something. So I read this a long time ago. And if you have the Kickstarter version, you'll see my name in the back. You'll also catch Brian Weaver's name in the back, the Brianiac, you know? But anyway, True Cult #1 is about this dude who's working at this burger joint called Burger Lord. He's been there for like 10 or 15 years. He's kind of tired of it, even though he is kind of like sold into the corporate mentality of the job, right? So he decides, he's been planning, he got a hold of a gun, he's been planning to do this heist, right, of the strip mall that's next to the burger restaurant, and he does it, and then all this other stuff kind of happens, and it jumbles it up. Scott Bryan Wilson puts a lot of words on the page, but it never feels kind of stagnant, right? Like, I really appreciated this, because I've worked jobs. I only ever had like one fast food job. I worked at a sub shop very briefly, but anybody's had any kind of retail job or like a movie theater or anything like that, you get used to the same kind of customers, the same kind of complaints, and the mentality of this dude is sadly very familiar to me. So I loved the characterization. I loved the way the story was laid out. It kept taking these little turns, and Liana's artwork is fantastic. I think her line has gotten more confident. I really appreciate her work. The coloring here is by Gabs, I believe. Gabs Contreras. So really like the coloring. I really like the tone. I thought this book was super cool. It's part of the IDW Originals, which also has another book out this week, which is Dark Spaces Wildfire issue #2. So this is written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Hayden Sherman. That's right, Hayden's got 2 books out this week. Hayden's a beast. Like, prolific, comic illustrating beast. Straight up. This is illustrated in a different style. Another colorist on here, I think it's Rhonda Pattinson, but the coloring here is, Pattison. The coloring here is absolutely amazing and super compelling, and the way it works with Hayden's art, it just blends and it makes it pop. I absolutely love it. It's about these, I believe they're felons, right? They're like convicts. They're like prisoners, these women prisoners who go out on like a work release thing from the prison, and they're there to like fight these wildfires, right? Because they have firefighting experience or something like that. But there is a house there that's got access to all this tons of money or something like that on like a flash drive. They plan a heist basically because they know that that house is in the path of this fire. So they go to the house, they perform the heist here. It was all set up in the first issue. Not the first issue was decent, but the second issue really kind of picked up that pace. It kind of moved that momentum along, and I found myself getting more engaged in the story. The artwork's been fantastic all the way through, but I was finding myself more compelled with the characters. So I liked it. So they performed the heist, and of course, this is issue 2 of like 5 or 6, so it ain't gonna go so easy for them. But that was a really solid follow-up. I think it actually improved on issue #1. Then we got Usagi Yojimbo, issue #30. Stan Sakai doing what Stan Sakai does best and has been doing for well over 30, 35 years at this point, doing Usagi Yojimbo, cartoonist of my lifetime. Seriously, Stan Sakai is amazing. I stopped reading Usagi for a big long period. I just jumped back in a few issues ago. They're kind of in the middle of this story right now, but each issue is a complete kind of tale. And this one, you got Usagi and his cousin, I believe. They got there's some kind of document that's going to prove the corruption of some kind of official, some lord, and this like Bat Ninja clan are after them, and then they're getting their allies or the ninja, like, so Usagi's getting help from the cat ninjas. And I love this stuff with Usagi Yojimbo. I love the way he tells the story, the lettering. This is all Stan Sakai here on the page, and I absolutely freaking love it. It is amazing. We have Hi-Fi Design doing the coloring. But Usagi Yojimbo, that's a fantastic book. Then we have Chilling Adventures presents Jinx, Grim Fairy Tales. So this is an Archie horror one-shot anthology. This character, Jinx, that I didn't know about, but my buddy Joe Corallo told me a little bit more about her in our last conversation that we had here on the channel. But Joe's got a story in here, so I definitely wanted to pick it up. It's also got a story from Max Visaggio. It's got a story from James III, or James III. But I liked it. My favorite story was Joe's, and, you know, of course, I'm biased, friend of the show. But overall, I liked it. It's just 3 fun, kind of light horror stories, all narrated by Jinx while she's babysitting these two these two miserable kids, and and so there's just these three stories that are being told. Excuse me. Jinx is kind of featured in a lot of them, and they're using these characters, I think, from the old school like Archieverse books back in the day and stuff like that. But I really like this, and Joe, I really loved your book. I found it rather charming and satisfying. But I really did dig that. Then we got from Vault, we have Barbaric, Axe to Grind. This is the start of the next full-on Barbaric series. We had that one-shot. I thought that was fine, but I was missing Nathan Gooden on the artwork. Now we got Gooden back. We got Addison Duke here. Come on, y'all. This book was awesome. It did not skip a beat. It did not miss anything. It kicks off. We got Owen. We got Soren, and we've got this new character, Steel, and they're just fighting these vampire giants, and it's like just this gnarly gore fest fight, frantic vampires, super cool stuff. You get some information about the past of Owen, the Steel dude, the way that develops. There's a moment with this one dude. I got to show you this big. So eventually they wind up on a ship, right? They wind up on a big ship and they get attacked from some kind of creature, some kind of underwater creature, and that's a really cool splash, right? But then this dude, okay, when you're reading this, the next page, I laughed out loud, like for a good, like 10 seconds, I would say. Also from Vault, we have Heart Eyes, issue number 1. This is from Dennis Hopeless. It is illustrated by Victor Ibanez, Addison Duke on the coloring here, Simon Bolin on the lettering. This book, first of all, the artwork is really cool. The colors are cool. It could be a little bit brighter, but I really like the choices made on the coloring. I really like the artwork. The artwork is really cool. The acting, if you will, from the characters, from the faces, it all works. There's a great sense of movement. This what it is there's a world. It's been decimated by all these crazy like monsters, right? So this is about humanity afterwards, and all of a sudden, this dude Rico meets this chick Lupe, yeah, and Lupe is just out there walking around enjoying life, but everybody's like fearful to being on the streets because these monsters will come and eat you, but for some reason they don't attack her. So there's a mystery, there's a budding romance, there's a Romeo and Juliet type thing, but there's not another family yet. I don't know. So maybe that was the wrong kind of analogy. However, I found it to be very compelling, a good first chapter. It didn't completely hook me, but I really liked that artwork, and the characters and the story were compelling enough to definitely come back for issue number 2. Then we've got Quests Aside, issue number 4. I'm still digging this book. I think it's cool. I'm not the biggest D&D type fan. If you're a D&D person, you might want to check this book out. Apparently, when you D&D, there's a meeting bar where you go to find quests or something. This is about one of those bars. The dude who owns it, the crew, it has a really great sense of camaraderie, or that's the wrong word, but it's got a great sense of all the different characters. They're all realized. This place feels very much lived in and alive. So it is an interesting book. It's not the most captivating book from Vault to me, but I do like it. And the fact that I'm not really into these kind of stories makes it sing even better for me, I guess. Then we got We Ride Titans, issue number 5. This is the final issue. It is a very satisfying conclusion to this giant mech story that ultimately would do Vin Diesel proud, because this is about family. And they actually nail this ending. So it's about a family in each town has a giant mech. They're responsible for that mech because kaiju exist and they have to fend off these attacks. But all the mechs are passed down from family member to family member, right? So this is about one family that has kind of broken apart, and then they get attacked by another mech, like a renegade mech, right? And it is, of course, tied into their family drama. The way they resolve it here comes across very sincere and also action-packed. So I really like it. If you like mech fighting stories, family dramas, really cool stuff, blending it together but still being exciting, We Ride Titans. That made a really solid book. Then we've got Lady Hell, issue number 1. This is from Dynamite Comics. This is a Chaos character, I believe. I am not familiar with Lady Hell, but I got everything I needed to know in this first issue, and I really, really liked it. It's written by Eric Burnham, and the artwork is by Zangish Tazbolatov. Anyway, I really liked the artwork. I really liked the story. So Lady Hell is the Chaos Comics version of Death, but she has lost her throne to her underworld, to Purgatory and the Vampirella Purgatory thing, apparently. I didn't read that. That doesn't matter. I have those issues, but I didn't read them yet. But it doesn't matter, because I fell right into the story, understood this character, and now she's going from reality to reality because each reality has their own underworld. She goes to a different world from a different universe with a different underworld. And so I immediately was compelled. I really, really liked this book. I wasn't really honestly expecting much out of it, and it sold me. So I thought that was super cool. Then we had Mad Balls versus Garbage Pail Kids, issue number 2. Just like the first issue, gigantic moronic splendor. That's what this is. It's just big dumb fun, nostalgia driven fun. That's what it is. I love Mad Balls. I love Garbage Pail Kids. You're colliding them together. In this one, they're basically in a battle of the bands, and the artwork is cool. If you're into Mad Balls or Garbage Pail Kids, this is going to appeal to you. It's done as if it's a book for kids, so it's got some real cool fun stuff, but it's also got neat little things like puzzles in it. I'm trying to find the puzzles. Oh, there's a cool science fair bit too. But yeah, help Dustbrain get through the pyramid, the maze, and shit like that. So that's really cool. Super fun and some gnarly covers there. Then we got Army of Darkness versus Reanimator, Necronomicon Rising. I'm having fun with this one too. Big fan of Army of Darkness, big fan of Reanimator. This is written by Eric Burnham as well. He is a really solid writer at taking these properties, these licenses, and making them kind of work and sing and understanding the voices of each involved. Ash talks, speaks, and acts like Ash. West acts, talks, speaks, and talks and speaks. He talks and speaks just like Herbert West should. But I love it, and the way that he's kind of blending it all together, using the lore from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness and using the lore from the Reanimator films. I'm digging it. And then the setup for the ending. Very, very excited to see what we do there. Then we got New Think issue number 3. New Think number 1 was awesome. Number 2 didn't really do much for me. 3 is kind of like in the middle of the road. It's okay. It's an anthology series, different artist each issue, but it's all written by Hurwitz. Is that Greg Hurwitz? But this one's all right. Yeah, Greg Hurwitz. This is all right. I liked seeing Karen Grant back on artwork. I haven't seen any artwork from this cat in forever. I remember back in the Iron Man days. Anyway, this one's all right. The artwork was really cool. But this is kind of like your phone camera's a vampire, and that's basically what it's trying to do. And it takes a long time. And it's like to just get to the point that is easily understood at the beginning. So I don't know. It didn't really do much for me. I think there may only be one more issue of that left. Then we got from Scout, The Life and Death of the Brave Captain Suave. So this is about a homeless guy who has some kind of mental thing going on where he believes he's a superhero. So he's a homeless guy. Every bit of money he can grab up, he spends on comics and alcohol. And I was like, man, maybe that's too close to home. You know what I'm saying? But no, so he's homeless, and this is all he has. And he has this like fantasy world he lives in which he's a superhero, but the real world's going on around him. I thought the story was all right. The artwork was really good. I thought the artwork was super solid, and it does go back and forth between a comic booky style and a more gritty, raw, reality-based type style. And the way that they juxtaposition against each other, it actually works. So I like the artwork. I like the concept of this story. There's some really cool moments. Let me show you this bit right here. Holy cow, look at that splash. That's amazing. So the artwork was great. Story was interesting. It didn't completely 100% grab hold of me, but I did like it. Kelly Williams is the artist. Hell of a job from Kelly Williams. So anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought about it. So some pretty decent stuff, but Image had a hell of a week. 20th Century Men, Above Snakes, Do a Powerbomb. Those are must-reads of the week. If you like action and you're not reading Firepower, what is wrong with you? DC had a decent, okay week, but they kind of had a miss for me with that One Bad Day book. Marvel had some decent stuff. Hulk ended up fine. Iron Cat's good. Deaths of the Mutants, though, just wasn't quite for me. True Cult is definitely worth checking out, especially if you've worked in a shitty job for a long time. I think you'll understand a lot of what's going on there. Then we got Barbaric coming back. That was great. Don't miss Joe Corallo's story and Jinx Grim Fairy Tales. Man, a lot of great comic books this week. Some okay books, but some really solid books. After 2 weeks of kind of so-so new comic book days, this was a pleasure. It was a treat. Anyway, thank you so much for checking out the video. What are you reading? What are you digging? What are your picks of the week? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's keep that conversation going. Anyway, thank you so much. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Station. Keep on reading. Pop, pop, boom!